Good morning and welcome to the 6th plenary of the GSA's 4G, 5G Fixed Wireless Access Forum. Before we dive into the agenda and the presentations and discussions today, I'll quickly just do some housekeeping on the platform and the event. We've got 3 sessions, a presentation on the latest market data, then we have an operator panel, and then we have a vendor panel as well. We're trying to keep the event in total to around about 90 minutes, just to give you a sense of how long the event will last. During the event, please do feel free to ask any questions. You can use the questions tab on the right hand side. We will use those questions to inform the discussion, and if we're not able to answer them directly during the event, then we'll certainly do our best to answer you directly after the event. The event is being recorded. You will receive a recording of the event immediately following the live broadcast. You can also download the presentation at any time during the event. So if you just hover your mouse over the screen, you'll see the foundation icon, so you can download the presentation deck as well. But with that, I'll turn it over to Julian, who's chair of the forum, to kick things off.
Thanks a lot, Richard. So a warm welcome to our 6th plenary edition. I'm Julien Grivola, and I am the chair of the GSA 4G 5G Fixed Wireless Access Forum. In my daily work life, I'm also the European Director for the Wireless Network Industry Development at Huawei. So in our previous events, we are using this to provide an overview on what we are doing on fixed wireless access within the forum and what we are seeing happening in the market. This organization is a non-profit organization, and we are hosted by the GSA. As you know, the GSA represents the network ecosystem, the 3GPP network ecosystem, and it is an organization that is producing a lot of deliverables about various industry segments. So there are reports like the one on fixed wireless access. There are reports on 5G, on different chipset segment, on the CP segment, and there are also access to the GAMBoD database. In this database, you can find lots of information about chipset modules, devices, but also about network deployment and so on, with lots of statistics, which is really helpful to get a sense on how the market is developing. There are also activities like the GSA Spectrum Group, which is involved in all spectrum-related matters to promote the 3GPP agenda. And there are also a series of dedicated working groups, and I think the Fixed Wireless Access Forum is one example, but there are similar activities focusing on private networks, for example. So to go back to our main topic, as we know, the fixed wireless access industry is developing very fast over the last 2 years, especially. There is lots of, hype around it, driven by some particular regions. For example, we have all heard about what is happening in the US, a market in which T-Mobile and Verizon have been revolutionizing or completely disrupting the US broadband market in less than 2 years. Right now, I think fixed wireless access, 5G fixed wireless access represents more than 90% of all the net adds over 2 years. So it's really a big change. This is not just in economies like in the US. We also see a strong push in markets like India. Airtel and Jio, for example, have high ambitions in 5G FWA. I think you are all pretty much familiar with the announcement from Jio, with the ambition to cover 100 million households in India with 5G FWA. In Europe, it's the same. I mean, there are lots of networks. More than 70 networks are currently commercially available in the EC27 countries. And today, thanks to our guests, we will hear more about what is happening in South Africa with RAIN, or in Indonesia with Telkomsel. And as you have probably noticed, last week we published the latest industry report with all of lots of statistics about fixed wireless access development globally. We will have Ian from GSA Research later that will cover this into more details. But all this is really good, but still there are lots of people who are not connected. 2.6 billion now, if I recall correctly. This is what the ITU State of Broadband report stated in 23. So we need to do more to fix this issue. And I think definitely fixed wireless access should be included and promoted in all national broadband plans. You know, thanks to this advantage in terms of time to market, lower TCO, it's completely future-proof, especially with 5G advanced features coming along. So really, this is something we are promoting with this organization. You can see on the left side of the slide that we are currently benefiting from the support of 55 members. As you can see, still, like in the previous years, the CPE segment is the most represented one. And this is in line with our aim to make this technology well known or better known. We are still publishing lots of reports. We are also, doing events like today to really help educate the market and the industry about the benefits of fixed wireless access. All the deliverables we are producing are available on our website. So you have the link here. And we are also allowing replays of the events we are doing like this one today. On this slide, you can see in a nutshell our work plan for the year. So we are in the June timeframe. So today we are organizing one of our 2 annual events. And we will be also participating to the Network X event in Paris in October. We will have a 2-hour roundtable there. So you will be more than welcome to join us physically this time. And we are also in the middle of the process to finalize our contribution to the European Commission DNA consultation, where we want to promote fixed wireless again for the future of digital infrastructure in Europe. And we are also finalizing our CPE survey, which is the top deliverable, I think, from the forum, where we are asking our CPE members to contribute some very interesting information in terms of their shipments, what kind of technologies, what kind of features, what kind of trends they are seeing for the near future. So this is something very important to us. Now we will move to the agenda of today. So we will have the first session with the support of Jan Fogg, who will present the global market update on GSA, followed by the mobile network operator session moderated by the vice chairman of the organization, John Yazler from Ericsson. We will hear from Rain and Telkomsel, as I mentioned before. And finally, we will have the CPE ecosystem value chain panel with our sponsors, Asia Telco, Pointing, and Toast Kangwei. So now we will do like usually, we will have short videos from our partners. Richard, please, can you display?
Asia Telco Technologies Company, established in 2003. Asia Telco established a strong, excellent, and efficient R&D team, which keeps developing innovative products and solutions based on 2G, 3G, 4G, 5G cellular technology, the broadband connectivity division design, 5G, 4G based wireless broadband devices, including indoor and outdoor CPE, routers, mobile hotspots, and other broadband connectivity devices, smart payment terminals, smart environment and vehicle security, and a smart camera. With a strong design, development, and production capability, Asia Telco is accepted by more and more customers and is well known all over the world. In addition, Telco established local offices in United States, Netherlands, Spain, Portugal, Ireland, Philippines, Pakistan, Mexico. With
Toast Kangwei, headquartered in Guangzhou, China, with more than 20 years of expertise in the telecoms industry, Committed to providing customers with broadband access terminals and intelligent solutions, we have more than 500 employees and the R&D team represents over 50%. Every year, we spend 7% to 10% of our revenue on technological innovation and own a number of core patented technologies of 5G FWA. Currently, we have customers in more than 100 countries and regions around the world. We have our own factory and established a mature and high-quality supply chain. Current monthly production capacity is more than 1 million units. We attach great importance to corporate social responsibility, insist on reducing carbon emissions, actively participate in SBT, and practice sustainable development. Toast Kangwei. Connect to better future.
We have been making wireless happen for as long as we can remember, and we always will. We are specialists who love our work, experts in our field. We take great pride in what we make and what it means to people. We hone our skills, refine our craft, and master the art of engineering. We are passionate about innovation and creating the best product that we can deliver. We forge, we learn, we build, and we grow beyond. It's more than just our vision and mission. It's our passion. We forge, we learn, we build, and we grow beyond. It's more than just our vision and mission. It's our passion. We are pointing, and we will take you beyond connected life.
Okay, thank you, Richard. So now, without further ado, I will leave the floor to Jan. Jan, can you present, please?
Great, thank you very much. Great.
Thank you.
So today we're going to run through the state of the fixed wireless access market globally, what's happening, the technologies used, and some of the models that operators are using to deploy fixed wireless access. So globally, 4G is now pretty much ubiquitous. There are fixed wireless access networks in every continent, in almost every country. There are 444 operators in 172 countries and territories selling services based on LTE, a rise of 8 operators from November 2023. So it's still growing. Even though it's a mature technology, the number of operators offering FWA using 4G technologies using LTE is still rising. However, 5G fixed wireless access is also now available on every continent globally, with very strong adoption and very strong growth. However, there are many operators that are still yet to launch 5G FWA that have offered 5G for smartphone or mobile users. Of 312 operators that have launched 5G worldwide by the end of May, 164 are marketing residential or business fixed wireless services, up more than 300% from the 41 that were offering 5G FWA in November 2021. In Europe, there are more operators marketing FWA than in any other region, particularly in the EU 27, which has 71 commercially launched FWA networks. So although the world's attention is on the US, because as Julian said, the tremendous drive that T-Mobile and Verizon have done on FWA, there are actually more services in other regions than there are in the US. There are, however, other dynamics when we look regionally. So what you see here is the share of operators that are offering LTE or 4G FWA on the left, and the share on the right offering 5G. The numbers represent the actuals. The size of the bars represents the proportion. And so you can see the regional differences here. On the right, you can see that Northern Europe, in fact, all of Europe, makes the greater share of the 5G FWA number of services than those regions represent on the left. On the left, those European regions are kind of under 30%. On the right, you can see the various European regions representing approaching half of the number of operator FWA services using 5G globally. And you can see North America, there are 58 we've tracked using LTE, FWA Northern America. There are 17 FWA 5G based services in Northern America on the right. The other thing you can pick up from here is that APAC, the various Asia regions, are less well represented than are the Middle East, Europe, or Northern America in both bars. The other dynamic where there are a greater share of FWA services using 5G is in the Middle East, where you can see there are 21 5G FWA services in the Middle East, and it represents a greater proportion of 5G FWA services globally than the Middle East represents for 4G. And that obviously is built on some very strong cellular network foundations in that region. The other thing we've looked at and we track in the database, this is in the report that Julian mentioned. So there's a report available for free on the GSA website, which has all of this data and analysis in it. But the data is also, as Julian mentioned, in the GAMBoD database in a quantitative format that members of the GSA can download and experiment with and explore. What we also track in the database and the report is the types of tariff models used by operators to deploy FWA. On the right, you can see a comparison between speed-based tiering, volume, so per gigabyte, both other, or where we haven't got any data on the type of tariff plan being used. You can see there's some quite big differences between 4G, between LTE and 5G. On LTE, volume-based tariffs, so per gigabyte, are much more popular than they are on 5G, and that reflects the lower capacity that LTE services have, the more limited amount of spectrum compared to 5G FWA services, where 5G is able to tap into those spectrum bands above 3 gigahertz, which have significant amounts of spectrum capacity. You can see that if you look at the spectrum database, also available on the GSA, where we track the spectrum holdings of operators by country or territory globally. So when we look at the overall, we can see that over half of 4G FWA services are data volume-based tariffs, compared with 22.4% of 5G FWA tariffs. We can see that the share of FWA tariffs which are only speed-based is similar for LTE and 5G, even though 5G offers much faster speeds. We can see that 11.5% of service providers offer tariffs with both speed and volume-based tariffs. That's similar across the two. So we can see some very differences. The other thing to understand here, that even where services are marketed unlimited, there's typically some kind of fair use aspect to it, where if users go over a certain data volume threshold, a speed limit gets applied. And we've tried to track that in the database too. When we look at the marketed speeds of LTE-based services compared with 5G services, we see much faster speeds on the 5G side being marketed on the 4G. So note there's a different y-axis scale here. The horizontal grid lines on this represent 500 megabit differences. So that's the same. The actual height of that y-axis goes up to 5.5 megabits on the 5G side, but only 2.5 megabits on the 4G side. So you can see there are much faster speeds being marketed on 5G than compared with 4G. You can also see the distribution of plans is different too. So each of those bars represents a single operator we've tracked. So you can see there are more operators pushing the high end of 5G speed marketing than there are on LTE. There's a much greater weight of operators on that right-hand side of the chart. Again, that reflects that greater spectrum capacity enabling higher speeds to be marketed. When we look at the type of CPE, and CPE is really extraordinarily important for 5G, We see obviously the different types of CPE, from indoor only to outdoor where there's an external antenna. And we can see there are again differences here between 4G and 5G and the type of CPE being deployed. Operators are overwhelmingly choosing indoor CPE. 92.3% of those we could classify the CPE offering indoor CPE. And that's because it's lower cost. It's also much easier on the installation side because the user, whether it's small business or consumer, can self-install. Typically, they might need a bit of help in terms of understanding where in their home or in their business to place the router, but it's very much a self-install type offering. Typically, with outdoor, it's more complex, and operators prefer to avoid that if they possibly can. If we look at the proportion that have outdoor CPE, only 28.4% of networks include outdoor CPE. On the side of which only offer it, only 7.7% of LTE FWA services using 5G only offer outdoor CPE. So very much indoor is the foundation, where operators feel they have to, perhaps for rural locations, perhaps because their signal isn't that strong, particularly on the 5G side, they're offering outdoor CPE, but it's very much something that they're pulling away from. We've seen this again in particular markets. In the US, where Verizon originally offered millimeter wave, they're now really focusing on their mid-band offering because they can do that with an indoor-only CPE offering. So we can see even in markets where they were doing a lot of outdoor CPE, we can see that focus pushing and transitioning over to indoor because of that convenience side. We track the type of CPE in terms of the number of models launched in the database and in the report, and you can see that's still rising. We can see there are now 316 CPE units that offer 5G FWA. It's rising still. 7 new device models were identified in the first 5 months of 2024, but it's slowing. That compares with 33 new FWA models using 5G technology that we identified in 2023. And you can see when you look at the types, the majority, 58.1% of those are indoor CPE units, 41.9% are outdoor units. When we look at the vendors, again, we track the vendors that are making these CPE units in the database and the report. We can see that the LTE CPE market is very fragmented. There are 132 vendors tracked in the database, up from 107 in November 2023. So that's actually a tremendous growth in the number of vendors, even in the last 6-7 months. And they're selling 890 indoor and outdoor CPE devices in total. So tremendously more LTE units still available compared to 5G. And that's partly because of the cost, ubiquity of LTE and the greater volume of operators. But that may change going forward. 5G RedCap lowers the cost of 5G CPE. And if you look at the RedCap report that we also have available on the GSA website, you can see the first RedCap devices are often targeting FWA CPE to enable operators to tap into that new 5G spectrum with a lower cost 5G unit that can be comparable in cost to an LTE CPE. So that's an area that's worth tracking. Haven't got slides on that in this report, but we have got a report on RedCap and database on that in GAMBoD on the GSA website. With that, I'm going to hand over to 2 of our operators who will talk about the detail about how to execute FWA. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Ian. I'm just inviting now John Yazley, who's the Vice Chair of the GSA Fixed Wireless Access Forum, who will introduce the operator panel.
Excellent. Thank you, Richard, and hi, everyone. So my name is John Yazley. I'm the Vice Chair of the Forum, and on my day job, I'm a Global Head of Fixed Wireless at Ericsson. Today, we have a very good panel discussion to share lessons learned globally as Ian mentioned, we start to see 5G fixed wireless coming to emerging markets. So we have two guest speakers here. First, we will have hear from Brandon Leaf, which is the founder and CEO of RAIN South Africa. RAIN was founded in 2016, and they started with 5GSA early on, really starting 2019. So Brandon will share his learnings, and then after that, we're gonna move to Telkomsel, where we have Ahmad Matses, VP, run engineering projects with over 25 years of experience from Telkomsel Indonesia. Please post questions on the chat. We will have a brief Q&A session at the end of the session. So with that, please, Brandon, take on.
Great, thank you. So yeah, thanks for the opportunity to chat to everybody today, and it's a pity we're online, but it feels like a little bit back in COVID time, so it has a bit of anxiety in it. Let's take you straight into some of the experiences that we've had as RAIN. Just a little bit of backdrop before I go into it. RAIN, we are operator in South Africa. We have a 5G network and a 4G network. We've been doing FWA for a long time. We have a standalone network, and we've been running standalone for about 5 years. So we've really been detailed in exploring that and understanding how to deploy it. The other thing that we've done is we've started a company, a partner company next door to us is RAINX, which actually designed some of the technologies that you see here today. But I'll present to you as RAIN. The key points from our side, it's really not as simple. And I think it's very, very important to understand why. You know, the operators, all of these operators on the call have done such a good job in mobile that the customers or consumers expect the FWA experience to be as seamless as mobility. Mobility allowed it. When we launched mobile networks, we had sub-1 spectrum, we had nationwide coverage, you know, coverage wasn't something complex, and capacity wasn't really a big problem at that time. So when you go into FWA, my warning, if I can say, or experience is you almost can become a victim of your own success. So you have to actually plan from the beginning. You know, when we looked at, if you take 4G FWA was added to a 4G mobile network. In a lot of cases, 5G FWA is almost the killer app, let's say, of the 5G network. And as a result of that, you have to start thinking about it much more as an end-to-end integrated solution. So we approach it as, maybe this is pretty obvious, but I think it's very, very different design principles you have to apply to each of these key pillars. First, the network, you know, that's one of the most important components logically, but the network needs to also consider how you manage PRBs in MBB and FWA on the same radio. You have to start thinking a little bit about, are you going to have prioritization? Are you going to interfere with your own mobile business? So the other thing we found is the analytical platforms and the way you think about the FWA actually requires a completely different way of engineering. It's in some sense almost like a microwave network of the past. There's some learnings from old microwave networks, more so than it is a mobile network. Yeah, the CP, our experience, and we've worked with various partners, but we decided ultimately over time to design with our partner company to design our own. And the reason we went down that path is not a criticism to other vendors, but we really understood how important the CP was for us. It's so critical to have high spectral efficiencies. The key attribute Wi-Fi is not to ignore that ultimately the consumer is connecting to your FWA network over Wi-Fi, and the user experience of the whole experience of the router is critical. That then combined together actually is a service. You know, on mobile, we don't actually have to look at mobile. So, you know, mobile works so well. We've got brilliant handset, brilliant coverage, that you don't actually have network issues and those types of issues in mobile networks as much as you will have in FWA. So all three we see as has to be completely engineered from the beginning as an end-to-end service, and not to look at it as three isolated components. You actually have to see them as a connected service. From the network side, a couple of points that we've learned. You know, you can look at it in three kind of layers. You know, where do you think there's an opportunity, where to build network, and obviously where to sell. But these three things have completely different propagation thinking. You know, what we're dealing with today is operators in FWA, you're in mid-band spectrum, your frequencies are higher, your building penetration is different, coverage is different, you're using massive MIMO. So there's a lot of different propagations that an end user receiving that signal is not the standard, if I can call it that way, radio planning. So what we've done is we've built up completely different data models according to each of these key areas. Where to sell is also very, very important to ensure that you can offer service to that customer, that service that they expect. An example that we found, if you take standard NPO data and you start building your coverage maps and your modeling, using, let's say, standard static data or reference data or performance data, when you combine that, you can get a traditional coverage map. What we do is we combine all our CPE data to ultimately derive our coverage map all the time. And that is something that has proven to be quite very different to what your traditional planning. What I can tell you, your radio planning and the real world do not align as much as they do in mobile. I think you must just keep in mind that the device that is receiving that signal is a CPE is very different, obviously, than a mobile phone, and the usage occasion is completely different. So as a result of that, you do need to think about your coverage predictions and capacity modeling quite differently. The service, double click. The service to us is, device management. If you look in the 4G era, we all looked at, TR69 platforms and managing, over-the-air updates of CPEs. In the FWA business of 5G, we're investing capital in big base stations and infrastructure. The customer experience management is actually far more important. And that actually is about managing how users are experiencing your network and combined service. So we don't look at this as device management. We've actually built the way we think about this actually experience management from an end-to-end standpoint. I cannot, I know there's some CPE partners on the call, and I'm sure they would echo the same. The CPE is key. It's what the customers are actually using. So we can have the best networks we like that can, massive MIMO, or even, all the new great engineering coming from the radio network providers. But if the device in the field is, 2x2, no matter what you do, you're not going to increase that MIMO. So you actually have to look at that device in the field as something that is ultimately an extension of your network. So the way we certainly look at it is that the CPE is part of our network, and we try and invest an enormous amount of engineering to ensure that that component is working and operating effectively. The other point I can add with CPE is key is just realize is that when you switch on your service, and one of the comments earlier was, is there demand? There's definitely demand for FWA. There's no doubt. The challenge is you've got to be able to maintain that when you become more successful. So when a site gets busy, you need to plan for that, because it can actually harm your business if you get that a little bit wrong. So for us, what we designed is what we call a smart router. It's got a screen on it, it's a touch screen. We look at it completely differently. It's 4x4. We're guaranteed to ensure that we get the best MIMO we can. We've designed it really from a radio standpoint first, and aesthetics as a component of that. So if you look at handsets, if you go back in time and you looked at how phones used to look and how they were engineered, they're very different today. So it's no longer, so we don't look at the home CPE as an appliance. We actually see it as something that people will eventually choose. And hence we look at, we call it brains and beauty. We're trying our best to evolve that ecosystem from let's call it standard, white boxes to something that's evolving over time. I suppose my last point is pretty obvious, but we're still learning a lot, and we're very excited to be learning. We learn from other partners around the world. We are working with some other operators around the world in working on 5G FWA and taking it to market in other areas. So we're excited about the ecosystem. It's going to grow, and all the data I think that was shared earlier is only testament to that. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you, Brandon. Now we go for Ahmad from Telkomsel.
Thank you, John. It's great to be here. So I am deeply grateful that I can join today's session. So allow me to introduce myself. My name is Ahmad Maches. Currently, I am serving as Vice President of RAN Engineering and Project at Telkomsel. So I think today's session is very interesting to discuss related to the fixed wireless access implementation. So allow me to call it the term in Telkomsel, we not put fixed wireless access, but home wireless access. Okay, continue. So before I start, I try to share about Telkomsel that we have our mission to provide innovative service connectivity in Indonesia, and Telkomsel as a #1 operator in Indonesia that actually currently we have the mobile subscriber around 160 million. So we're starting from the mobile operator. And then last year, actually, our parent company moved the fixed broadband business to Telkomsel. So right now we have around 8.7 million fixed broadband subscriber, which is from IndiHome. And currently we have around 247,000 BTS, 2G, 4G, and 5G. And related to the coverage, we already cover around 97% coverage population in Indonesia. And Telkomsel as the first launch 5G in Indonesia in the 2021. And then we have actually the main service that we provide is digital connectivity, and we have product prepaid and postpaid, including there are digital solution and service. And then just to share related to the fixed broadband demand in Indonesia, I think related to the global trend that actually we can see that fixed broadband is growth significantly. And also we can see also fixed wireless access is become like complement for the fixed broadband. So we can see for Telkomsel case that right now for mobile we have the average monthly payload consumption is around 18 gigahertz. And for fixed wireless that we using brand Orbic is around 70 giga per month. But for our fixed broadband, we're using IndiHome is around 400 until 500 gigabit per month. So the consumption is very high, especially in the fixed, and then continue is growing. So just to share, as I mentioned that last year, Telkomsel, we start from mobile, that we have two brands, Telkomsel prepaid, we call it Prabayar, and Telkomsel Halo. And then last year, we the fixed broadband moved to Telkomsel with using brand IndiHome. But actually, Telkomsel already implement the FTT fixed wireless access using Telkomsel Orbit with the subscriber around 2 million started 4 years ago. And now since we have complete fixed and mobile, and then we have convergence solution that we call it Telkomsel One. So fixed and mobile in one packet, one billing to customer. So we continue to improve our service and product to customer. And then just to highlight that Telkomsel also try to bridge the digital divide in Indonesia, because even we already cover around 97% of coverage population in Indonesia, but Indonesia is a big country. So there are around 17 islands across Indonesia that actually those islands is need to be covered, but sometimes it's very challenging with the business profitability. So we provide connectivity 4G and 5G across Indonesia. So we also focus to build the digital connectivity. So just to highlight in the right side that if we can see that trend, I think as mentioned previously, Julian, that fixed wireless access in continuous growing, also the data from the Ericsson Insight. But we can see in Indonesian market for FBB penetration right now still around 15 to 18%. So the demand still there, the growth. There are around 73 million households that still need. Actually, there are many that still unserved right now. So Telkomsel is focused to also to support the improvement digital transformation in Indonesia, especially to cover for unconnected homes, like mostly in the rural, including the SME, and besides we use the fiber, so fixed wireless access right now is become our weapon also to capture the market. Then just also continue to share that for home wireless access solution, we divide by unserved and underserved community. So for unserved, we are focused to build connectivity for homes that previously that still not covered yet. So mostly in the rural area. And also we also cover for secondary homes that actually there are some people also that expect to have very good connectivity in broadband. So they use broadband as their second homes. And then for under-reserved area, this is the area like in the suburban that currently cable already there, but actually the fixed wireless access is become like cable alternative to solve the connectivity, including the fiber alternative, because there are some also area that high costly, not easy to access to build, like in the some restricted area, including we are continue to replace like DHL, and then to capture the SME, small medium enterprise opportunity that actually the market is very big in Indonesia. So we want to share what is our home wireless access strategy penetration that we divide by 4 territory approach. First is the off-the-grid area. Off-the-grid area is to capture the mostly area in the rural that currently still no fiber available right there, but from Telkomsel we already has the cellular coverage there, so it's become like blue ocean for fixed broadband. So it's also there is no competitor there. So what is our solution to be that we offer to customer is 4G large bandwidth, but without guaranteed throughput. And then we have in full swing territory that this is for area that actually we already have fiber there, but the high utilization. So there are some issue like capacity. That's why fixed FWA is become like a temporary solution before fiber ready there. So what we provide that we will maximize our implement 4G or 5G large bandwidth, and then we provide guaranteed throughput. So fixed wireless access become temporary when the fiber, the capacity is ready, and then we will upgrade to fiber. And then we have a territory we call chip away. Chip away, this is the area that actually high demand, also competitor already there, especially like competitor Fortress, but sometimes we cannot build the fiber in that location. So there is some restricted area in Indonesia that operator cannot build. So only selected operator that have contract with the owner that can build. So we offer to them is fixed wireless access that can combine 4G and 5G, and then including the guaranteed throughput, because it's very competitive there. Is also we need to deliver good quality. And then the last is cash wider net. This is to capture market, especially in the suburban and rural residential that actually scatter. I mean, if we look in the business point of view, is not really profit if we build the complete fixed wireless solution. So we implement fixed wireless using like wireless extender, and then there is no guarantee throughput. So to implement those, we try to maximize our spectrum that we have in Telkomsel. So Telkomsel actually has quite a complete spectrum from 900 until 2300. So right now we mostly our implementation experience first wireless access is using 2.3 gigahertz that currently we have 15 megahertz. So combined with the technology Massive MIMO that actually has high capacity, around 2.5 times capacity compared with the existing our 44R in the 2300. So actually for area that we aggressive to implement the fixed wireless access, and then we use Massive MIMO. Including the Massive MIMO also we use to support like spatial event, crowded area, because it's already proven that it can cover even is by using one Massive MIMO can cover more than 900 user with still acceptable user experience. So just to highlight what is the Telkomsel roadmap actually to more aggressive in the home wireless access. So currently we're using a brand that we call it Telkomsel Orbit with technology 4G and then 5G home wireless access using the NSA. And then our journey is to have also SA using new spectrum. So it's expected in Indonesia to have additional spectrum in the 700 and later on 2.6 gigahertz in as well 3.5 and in the millimeter wave. And then for product, actually right now we have Orbit that mostly using indoor and including the for travel using MiFi with quota base. And then later on we have a plan to also adopt the outdoor CPE, because previously we only aggressive in indoor. So I think we need learn more also from Rain that actually already implement the outdoor, including that we plan to move to also speed tier base. So actually our fixed wireless access become later on like complement for the fixed broadband. So we implement the FWA first, and then later on we try to offer to customer to make move to fixed broadband when the fiber is ready. And then actually because we expect also the regulatory or policymaker join here, including the industry. What we propose to government that actually spectrum is become a key mandatory requirement to accelerate actually implementation of fixed wireless access, especially in Indonesia, and then including the incentive for spectrum itself, because like in Indonesia, spectrum P is quite expensive and challenging, especially to build in the rural area. And then we also collaborate with government how to improve local content in order to deliver more economic price and reduce costs, including the industry actually collaboration with the CPE provider, including the RAN vendor, to deliver the solution that I think later on the cost is need decrease, because actually the market is very challenging and sensitive with price. That's why competitive pricing and quality of service is become also key for us to maintain our leadership in the Indonesian market. So just to summary our key highlight that actually since we implement the FMC, it's become like unlock potential strategy for us. So beside mobile, we have fixed broadband, and then we aggressive right now to implement fixed wireless access as a complement solution. And then yes, home wireless access become our key also to support, especially like government, to reduce the gap national digital divide in Indonesia. So its hope is also can support build the nation and improve the economy. And then massive MIMO is a key enabler for home wireless access that we continue collaborate with our partner to maximize the equipment to deliver high capacity and better cost. And then last but not least, actually Telkomsel still continue focus to deliver best experience to our customer, because we believe that what is our key advantage is how to deliver best customer to customer. I think that's all from me. Thank you. Back to John.
Excellent. Thank you, Brandon and Ahmad. Really great presentations and many great insights. And also we have many questions here on the chat. So very high interest. So let me start picking some questions here. I think yeah, both Indonesia and South Africa are very large countries, very diverse, many different topologies that are different, but and also very different user base. I think emerging markets, you have a variation of very high-end users and very low income. So can you maybe touch a little bit about how do you think about that in terms of fixed wireless offerings, some that maybe is still on 4G, maybe prepaid fixed wireless, or different combination of CPEs? How you think about these customer groups and your offerings?
Ahmed can go first, I think.
Yes, please.
Yeah, maybe start from Brandon.
Sure. I think as we said, the complexity is that everybody needs home internet. So what we don't look at the market from our point of view of looking at it in the sense that a customer has a lower affordability to have a worse experience. What we're trying to do is ensure that the customers in those LSMs are actually the people who really, really need it. So from an engineering standpoint, that's where we need to actually engineer and solve the problem. Those customers who first-time internet users, first-time home internet users, first-time getting online. So it's a very, very important, let's call it on the bottom of that LSM pyramid, that as the ecosystem that we don't ignore that and we actually go work hard to go solve it. I personally don't have a view that you should make that cheaper. I think the answer is just to make it work very effectively. We need to, it's like anything that we use, whether it's public transport that we use to bridge a gap where people can't afford a car, we need to make that think about it in the same way. So we've been working a lot on that. We have lots of different customers in our market that are low SLM, high LSM. But I think ultimately you need to ensure that that user experience is end-to-end done properly. Then you can actually bring the price points down. You can't bring the price point down if you're inefficient with your radio resources. So if your network's not performing, you can't make it cheaper. I don't believe necessarily we're at the point here that a very, very low price CPE is going to solve that problem. We completely agree that we need the chipset vendors. If any chipset vendors on the call, please make it cheaper. But that's where the ecosystem where we're in. Lots of customers have high-end phones and smartphones, so the industry needs to build products to meet all that ecosystem, but certainly not to take a poor customer, a low LSM customer, and give them a worse service. They're actually the people who need it the most.
Okay, so just to share also from Telkomsel point of view. So for Indonesian market, actually is also quite challenging, because if we look to the ARPU, Indonesia is one low pricing compared with others. So it's very challenging for us, because like Indonesia is like 13 USD the pricing. So it's that's why right now we did that we try to have like speak terrain basis that we can offer like more low cost, but the speed maybe in the acceptable level. So this is something that we try to offer to customer, because actually the demand is there, but actually there are affordable for them how to subscription. And actually, if we look to the data itself, that is really that we can see that GDP per household is very correlated with the fixed broadband penetration. So like Indonesia market, I mentioned, the penetration still below 20%. So it's very market, the challenging how to deliver affordable price to customer.
Excellent. Very good points there. And maybe if we build upon on a bit on the offerings, in addition of connectivity, how you see additional value-added services, either you mentioned some convergence with mobile, or could be additional video services. I know, Brandon, I saw end of last year, you also added cloud gaming. So how you see these value-added services adding and the, let's say, end user willingness to combine offers? Do you see that across segments, or do you see that specific? What's your thinking around that? And maybe,
yeah, I mean, I think
yes,
to the same point in Indonesia, speed-based pricing is a good way to start. You can then allow customers to start growing within that ecosystem up to where they can do cloud gaming. I think it's ultimately what you're doing is you're doing, wallet substitution. So what you're actually doing, you're saying some customer would be purchasing linear TV subscription. Now it's going to be buying an online TV subscription. So, there is a wallet substitution opportunity. The growth in terms of ARPU services, we do find that, the speed-based pricing has been quite effective in the past, and does allow people to make their own choice on what elements they would like to, let's call it, compromise on. That's been quite effective from that standpoint. But you do need to ensure that then when someone does want to speed up their services, that you can provide that. In terms of NVIDIA Cloud Gaming, we're very proud to work with them. We learned a lot. We were just actually one of the big things we wanted to prove to everybody that 5G FWA has got the same low latency requirements. You can run full cloud gaming. It's very, very successful. It's sold out in the morning. So the reality of doing these things, 5G FWA is no longer a second choice. We see it as a primary choice, and we actually envisage customers choosing that as primary as their service. So I think the other things we do, we actually, funny enough, similar to Indonesia and South Africa, we have the same protocol one. So it's quite funny where we also combine mobile and fixed services into one bouquet of services, that it just allows it to make it more price effective.
Excellent.
Yeah. So actually for Telkomsel, because actually previously we have FWA that come from mobile. So previously we collaborate with the OTT. So we are packaging with like Netflix. There are some video application. While for fixed broadband that we have that previously from our parent company, they is already have like including the TV service, including the phone fixed phone service. And then right now, when we combine, also we try to implement that in the fixed wireless access. What the first is like smart home. This is something right now we try to offer to customer beside the OTT that we already have. And then we also plan to extend later on, like to include the TV as a packet of our fixed wireless access. I think this is our plan in the future, that because right now we try to aggressive to implement the FWA, because mostly we are most focused to mobile, but right now when the fix is also with us, and then when like we have a challenge to fulfill the request for a fixed broadband, and then we offer to them with FWA. So I think all the requests later on all can be fulfilled by us. So this is our objective, to maximize our FWA that we have.
Then if we move away a bit from let's say the technology point, maybe start thinking about when we discuss end-to-end, when we talk about experience management, now it's more like you as a leader and the leadership part of it. How do you see processes, incentives, or how you see that the organization embeds this end-to-end thinking for fixed wireless? I think if you sometimes, I think you are different organizations, but I think a lot of leaders would like to hear from you. Is there any tips or learnings that you'd like to share?
I mean, I think the standard one still applies. You kind of get what you measure. One of the things that I think in 5G FWA, you must be aware to measure customer experience. Having a CP in the field and just seeing that gigs are being consumed or might not be an adequate measure. So that's quite a key point. Our organization, we're super focused on measuring everything that we possibly can. So again, one of the key points why we went and designed our own is we've got so many more variables that we can bring up into our operational business, whether that's in the customer care element or the billing element, and things that we actually you don't realize that go wrong. Digital literacy is sometimes a challenge for consumers when they're buying on online services. How do we solve some of these problems? But ultimately, you need to be able to manage these networks at a cost-effective basis. I mean, if we want to bring FWA into the markets of Indonesia with so many beautiful islands, which we still got to go to, it's going to be complex. So you have to have a very effective and an efficient operation. I do think the last point there is, it's not a situation where you just put these in the field. Just put the CPs in the field and, good luck to your customers. I think that's quite a dangerous view. What happens, you'll get a lot of customer backlash. And as a result, that makes your kind of reverse logistics processes under a lot of pressure. So the best thing to try to do is get it right first time as much as you can.
Yeah, actually, agree with Brandon said, how to deliver an end-to-end that I think collaboration between all the parts, starting like from sales, marketing, including the network, I think is key to deliver a good service. Because actually, like for Telkomsel, the main is how to deliver best experience to customers. So when we deliver like FWA, so we need to ensure that all the service with it has like a sufficient capacity from network point of view. So close coordination from including from the sellers, what is the feedback from the market, customer complaint. So it's also become our input in the network to dimensioning our network, because we need to sometimes correlate to ensure that what we deliver to customer, it meet customer expectation, not only from measurement in the network point of view, because sometimes there is a gap. So we continue learning also with partner how to ensure and measure how really service to our customer. So regularly, from our sales and marketing together to measure what is Net Promoter Score from customer, what is the feedback, especially from the network, what need to improve. This is become our key to continuous improve. And actually, like I mentioned in the presentation also, that now we try to focus also to offer the outdoor CPE is also become our learning later on, because actually I believe quite challenging in terms of how to install and then how to give the guidance for the sales team, how to put the antenna and other in order to deliver a good experience. I think it's become our learning to continue improve, because I believe the FWA is become very key service later on as a complement of mobile and fixed broadband in the future.
Yeah. Excellent. Very interesting topic. A lot of good comments. I'm sure we could have spent the whole 1 hour more discussing this. But on behalf of the Fixed Wireless Access Forum, I'd like to thank both Brandon and Ahmad for joining us today. Thank you very much. And let me pass now back to Julian and Richard for the next part of the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot, John, Brandon, and Ahmad for the very interesting session. And indeed, it was very fruitful. So now let's move to the Fixed Wireless Access Ecosystem panel. So as you can see on the slide, we will have Dr. André Fourier from Pointing, this is CEO. We will have Anthony Shen, President of Europe and UK at Toast Kangwei. And we were also expecting to have Willy Wang, the VP of Sales at Asia Telco, but I'm not so sure he has been able to join. It seems we have technical issues on that side. So what I would propose, if you don't mind, is maybe to start with a few slides from André at Point.
Great stuff. Thanks a lot. As you see in the introduction, we didn't say much about what we do. Sorry, I just want to start a timer because I've got time on this. We're really a company that was born into antennas. I'm myself an antenna engineer. I'm passionate about antennas. Company started about 20 years ago. And because we live in Africa, we started with cellular provision, even when it was 2G, because many people had problems there. Of course, things started booming when data came along. And we live, breathe, and eat antennas. This is one of my core beliefs, is that many people can do antennas. We're not unique in having simulation software, but where we are quite unique is we understand what we need to do. Now, because we've always been on the antenna side, not on the device side, we had to stay broadband. So antennas have become a lot more complex. We started life in Wi-Fi, where we had similar CPE integrated with electronics. But there it was pretty simple, and we got killed in the market ultimately by Ubiquiti that came out with a completely integrated unit. So we also started off with agnostic units, where we had antennas, other people had electronics. Now, just the indoor versus outdoor signal, I'm not going to belabor this. It was so nicely explained by Brandon, and I think people know it. But the biggest difference in an outdoor antenna is not really the gain of the antenna. The biggest difference, in my opinion, is about 15 to 25 dB that you gain by going outdoors. Okay, then the gain, of course, comes into that. But really, having that antenna outdoors gives you a consistent signal, and that 15 to 25 dB translates into much, much better spectral efficiency. Also, the MIMO. If you just look at the simple case, I don't believe it's that common to even get 4x4 MIMO. 2x2 MIMO you always get, because polarization gives that to you. And having an outdoor antenna ensures at least 2x2. The other types of MIMO is often much better on the base station to get beam steering. And of course, when you're very close to the cell, you can get path diversity. It also reduces noise. Okay, you get away from the noise inside the house, but you also, if it's directional, get away from noise in the environment. This is one of the interesting ones, because this is a study I did about 10 years ago, and it was recently confirmed by a document by Ericsson, just in terms of revenue. Now, once again, I really loved this slide, Brendan, because he just confirmed that if you have got indoor CPEs, what it in fact does is this little blue circle that you see is sort of blue and red circle is the only places where you can really get good spectral efficiency. If you go to the left-hand side, you can serve many more people within the same cell. It's as simple as that. People can look at it afterwards. There's a bit of a monetary case there that says exactly what he said. I've been trying to convince operators that you must provide the user with the outdoor CPE. It actually makes you more money. In other words, you make more money, including the cost of that CPE and the installation cost, if it needs to be installed. I do believe the self-install, what I call semi-outdoor, where you get it against the window, perhaps is a good intermediate solution. But really, you know, we go for TV. Years and years, we've always installed our TV antennas outdoors. And the reasons being that it became common, people understand that you get better quality that way. So we started off with pure antennas. I'm happy that the antennas are much more complex than the Wi-Fi area, because we have to cover from being agnostic to routers. We always have to cover from 600 at the moment up to about 6-7 gigahertz. Now, believe you me, if you sit in the antenna world, that is not a simple matter. So if you're a service provider, you can focus on only the bands that you've got. But because we try to be router agnostic, we never want to go compete with people in terms of CPEs. I don't want to develop CPEs. My real message is combine a router with an antenna, keep it close by, because we used to sell just the antennas, but with 4x4 MIMO, 4 cables already makes it useless. So we make router agnostic housings like this. But what I really wanted to bring to the forum is what happened to me in Wi-Fi. We really need to integrate the electronics much closer. In other words, not a box within a box. Actually put the PC board in, then you get the lights to shine out. You can add a SIM card. The cost comes dramatically down if you fully integrate. And as a company, we want to provide that type of service. And I believe there's most probably others, but I believe that is the right way to go. And the only advantage that you get from people that actually already do the integrated CPEs is you give the user, the operator, a choice in terms of the electronics. As again was mentioned by Brendan, sometimes they need these special electronics to monitor users. So they don't like to be just to have one operator, for example, a big operator that you then have to choose the electronics. That's it from my side. So I'm really trying to say, let's combine good antennas with good routers. Sorry, South Africa, we use it slightly different, and we can get clearly excellent solutions out there.
Thanks a lot, Andre. Before I move to you, Anthony, I would just like to remind to the audience that you can send questions to the panel using the question box in the online tool. So please, Anthony, the floor is yours.
Okay. Thank you so much, Julian, and also it's a very pleased to join this webinar, again. So today I just want to have a brief introduction about TODS. It's a router manufacturer, just like Andrew mentioned. Yeah. Okay. Next slide. Actually, I think TODS company, we are in the industry more than 20 years, but we are starting the MBB, device development and marketing. I think is the beginning of 2015 and 2016 at that time. And by the way, I think the scale is going up. I think on the 2018, when the 4G devices just started, and we have a lot of R&D, especially in China. They have like 4 different R&D center in Guangzhou, in Shenzhen, in Xi'an, and also in Shanghai. But Shanghai, I think, is mainly focused on the fixed broadband device. It's not only now we have a MBB, and we also have a fixed broadband. Yeah, and now we are moving to the overseas, have a different office across the world. But anyway, we want to move our manufacture facility in Malaysia. This is I think will be best to help our partners. Yeah. Yeah, and I think towards the perspective, Julian, maybe you can move to the next slide. I think, I think about market achievement. Now we are a vendor, most focus on almost all the energy focus on the customization for the operator, because this is our main partner and main channel for the partnership. And for the 4G, you can see, from the last several years, I think for the sales volume perspective, I think it's flat. And it's around like 3 million or something. But you can see for the 5G, devices, for the last 4 years, it's boosting. So now we can reach, we already reached the shipment of about 600K, for this 5G device. Which means like a 5G market, I think, growing very quickly as a vendor. And by the way, for the partnership, we have a lot of partnership with bigger, operator across all the continent, but most, I think, in Africa, in the Middle East, and also in Asia. So I think, for the 5G, CP now, the revenue, we can say like the shipment that you can see now is around like 1/3 of the portion of the 4G. But anyway, for the revenue perspective, it's a half and half. Yeah. And in the industry, I think we are, have a lot of friends, no matter from the chipset level, we can do, Qualcomm, MediaTek, and also Unisoc. And by the way, I think from the modular, we have also a lot of friends, like a Crypto, Simcom, Fibocom, and we also make our own, modular, based on the Unisoc chipset, to make sure, this is absolutely affordable devices, for the 5G. And we have a lot of partner for the, big brand, and we also have a membership, for the famous organizations such as GSA. So I think this is general introduction, for the company, and thank you.
Thank you, Anthony. So I think we can move to the panel discussion now. And maybe to start with, I think there was a comment in the previous session saying that the CPE is part of the network. And there was a reference, to the technical features that can help mitigate capacity needs, as well as ensure a reliable and high level network experience or user experience level. So maybe both of you, what kind of features you see as being a key to ensure those two things, capacity and service quality? Maybe, I don't know who wants to start. You want to go, Anthony? Or?
Okay, so I think I'm not a technical guy, I'm just a sales, but anyway, so as far as I understand, yeah, as far as I understand, like for the, CPE, I think, the 5G, I think the most important thing is the capacity and also the coverage, yeah? So I think, I think there was several, technologies quite important when we engage with the customer. First one, I think, is about like, also I think Brenton already mentioned about massive MIMO. I think it's a MIMO technology which can, support like a, multiple user, can surfing the network, in the same time. This is a massive MIMO technology. Even for the LTE, for the 5G, is a 4+4. I think it would be nice, technology. The second one is about how to say? It's about antenna, because just like Andrew also mentioned about outdoor antenna. I think this is just a balance, for outdoor and indoor CPE. But I think no matter outdoor and indoor CPE, the antenna is quite important, because the signal, this is a wireless, signal, and also the interference. I think there was a lot of things, important, no matter for the Wi-Fi antenna, but also for the wireless antenna. This is the second one. And from the network perspective, I think, it's like, dynamic spectrum sharing is also quite important, because I think this is, I think that the spectrum is always limited. So that's the reason why I think for dynamic sharing, so for the CP perspective, we need to support that. Yeah. So this is some kind of technology. I can't remember anyway.
Thank you.
Just some comments from my side. In terms of the features, I think Anthony much more qualified in terms of, in other words, the management features. You obviously have to rely on the guys doing the electronics. And like I say, we decided quite firmly, we, at one stage, we considered putting our own electronics in, and just realized this is not our game, it's not our DNA. And there you have to look towards which vendor gives you the type of service features you want. In terms of capacity is really where I'm talking about. And of course, as I explained, the capacity using good antennas, preferably outdoors against windows, in other words, facing outwards, is what you really need. I believe even though installation is always seen as an obstacle, we had it being mentioned, one should just see it as an automatic thing. I don't even believe people should, the idea of giving people in bad signal antennas that used to be the main driver is actually incorrect, because even if they get good signal, they're going to use much less spectrum. The modulation rates go up, the amount of MEA that they get goes up, so they can support more customers. They mustn't just look at a customer that can't get signal. They must look at maximizing capacity, and I think Brendan talked about that. But what Anthony just said is so important, is the spectrum. I do believe one actually need right from the start not to look at the spectrum you currently have, because you're going to install, as we saw in some of those fantastic networks everywhere, and then you're going to get new spectrum, which is why we believe you need to future-proof, and why we try to design everything to run from, at the moment, 600 to about 6 gigs. That's what we typically aim for, because that makes it what I call future-proof. It means since you've got this installation and so forth, you don't want to go run back to it whenever there's a new frequency change. So I think those things are important to consider when you look at CPEs for fixed wireless access.
And actually, there is also one question about, the reasoning behind selecting an indoor versus an outdoor CPE, or using an additional antenna on top of, instead of having an indoor CPE. And what is the way, mobile operators are, taking this aspect into consideration into their business planning for fixed wireless access, in terms of return on investment or things like that? How do you see their concerns, or any trend? I think we have seen in the presentation from the GSA that there was, a tendency towards indoor CPEs, whereas when you are looking at the number of models for 5G FWA in particular, you have seen that the ratio, if I'm correct, was 60 to 40%. So there seems to be like some sort of blurry area here. So can you elaborate on this one?
Perhaps, do you mind if I go first, Anthony?
Please.
I find this is almost a cultural issue, and I've had this. That's why I wrote that whole business plan and so forth. Like I say, 10 years ago, I'm like a guy evangelizing the outer world, and I believe the reason is because most operators comes from mobile. Okay, so they almost used to have easy devices that they can just sell over the counter. And you find also that the guys doing the infrastructure is one leg of a big telco, and the guys doing the selling of user devices is often a completely different leg. Now, because I consider this outdoor CPE to almost be part of the network, you will be able to convince the guy sitting in the infrastructure, gee whiz, you can save a lot of infrastructure, you can get much more money out of your infrastructure. But for the guy selling, he's saying this is going to be more expensive, I can't offer it as part of my contract. Now, I always say to the guys, go back to the wireless ISPs. That's to me an interesting test case, because they've been doing it, even though they're much smaller nowadays, they've been doing it for about 30 years. Not one wireless ISP, which uses the license-free bands, will ever consider selling an indoor CPE to a user. In other words, to me, that is pretty good proof, because they've lived it, that they would not even think about selling a guy indoor. Okay, they're also working at the high frequencies, but so do the, if you look at 2.6, that is Wi-Fi frequencies, and 3.4 to 3.8 is, of course, close to the high band. So none of them will ever consider it, because they'll never be able to carry the capacity that makes them economically viable. So bluntly speaking, if your purpose is fixed wireless access, and I think you must almost allocate part of your spectrum to fixed wireless access, rather than to mix it, because a guy with a mobile phone can use virtually the same part of your base station as about 20 of the guys on fixed wireless access with outdoor antennas, So service those guys with whatever is the good spectrum. Often for them, the lower bands may be better because better penetration, they sit in cars and so forth. But actually create fixed wireless networks from the ground upwards rather than sort of just wanting to introduce some fixed users into your system. That's certainly my comment. So I know, of course, many people do sell the indoor. I wish I did, because they do sell a lot more. But I think you're not quite right in terms of the trend. The actual trend on people starting to use outdoor is a much larger increase. And I think quite a few people commented on that. So where fixed wireless is now becoming a real business, whereas before it was just a fill-in business, if you know what I'm trying to say. Some guy wants it at his home or at his office, can't get anything else. They just sold him a normal data contract. Now they're starting to differentiate on pricing, and people starting to see fixed wireless, as we saw there with the Indonesian case, as a separate chunk of their business. It will move a lot to outdoors, and I think we saw the comments there that one of their views is to go more for outdoor type of CPEs.
Yeah. Okay. So I just want to say, like, based on our company figure, currently, I think that outdoor unit, outdoor CPE, I think it contributes around like 20% of the whole revenue share. And by the way, when we engage with customer, like Europe customer, I think mostly, they are different. But anyway, around the portion, I think maybe last year, maybe it's around like 5%, but now I think a gradual increase, like a double or maybe triple. Now it's contribute around like 15% of their purchase. So we can see like outdoor unit is growing. This is the one thing I want to mention. The second one is about, personally, I like it outdoor unit because, this is a very good, quality and signal strengths. And by the way, if you have like an apartment, like a big apartment, or maybe like a house or something, so then I think, for the Wi-Fi, with the indoor unit, maybe not that enough to cover every corner. That's the reason why, my personally preferred outdoor unit. But, for the outdoor unit, I think, they still have some kind of like a concern, from the operator. First one is about like installation and maintenance. This is not only for the cost, but also for the professional engineering availability, and also scheduling, how to schedule the time and waiting time, for the installation. This is one thing. The second one is about like, for the it's not for the CPE alone. I think the cost is one reason. For example, outdoor unit, you need like a lot of like environmental consideration, like a wind, snow, or like a very very difficult in the weather condition, so I think this is for outdoor. That's the reason why I think outdoor cost, for the CP perspective is a little bit higher. But I think this is just one thing. But anyway, for the maintenance, and also there was something like some kind of regulation, it's not allowed to, or maybe like not allowed some type of, outdoor unit to install, on the outside of the house or something like that. So I think there was something like regulatory compliance, and also some other consideration, not only for the technology itself. Yeah. So, and by the way, I think from our experience, I think, normally like in the, rural area, or maybe in the area, with a weak signal, then I think I would prefer, to promote, the outdoor CPE. And by the way, in the, urban unit, I think especially in the network is quite good, and especially for the penetration is also quite good, can meet the subscriber demand. Then I think we'll prefer, to promote indoor CPE because it's easy, installation and maintenance. And by the way, but anyway, this is a mixed solution. Yeah. So, based on outdoor and the unit. Yeah.
These are all good points. And, within the forum, obviously, you are members. We contributed 2 years ago to the European consultation on the revision of the state aid for broadband. And that was one of the arguments we were pushing, especially for those rural areas, to improve the business case, to allow, for example, subsidization of professional installation of outdoor CPEs or subsidizing CPEs as well. So these are things we keep pushing, and we will continue to do so. So that's one point I wanted to highlight as well about this specific question on indoor, outdoor.
By the way, just to add a little to that, I do agree fully with Anthony in terms of the Wi-Fi side. I know the tradition indoors is, of course, the Wi-Fi is with in the same box, so because you are indoors. But with an outdoor solution, you definitely need to have a Wi-Fi access point on the inside. Of course, many indoor areas, my house, for example, I've got more than one, so you perhaps have to wire it into the Ethernet. But certainly, I would never recommend having your Wi-Fi access sitting outdoor with the CPE. You need to go for a split solution. They're often also a nice way to get the PoE injected up into an integrated unit. So certainly agreed.
We have received also a quite technical question on the antenna side of things. So I think this is definitely for you, Andre. And the question is about, what would be the value of a customized OEM enclosure rather than using, off-the-shelf type of enclosure from antenna suppliers?
Yeah, we of course, like I say, started just providing what I call a pouch. It's like a kangaroo cage that you can put different type of CPEs in. And the reason I believe in that is my path I walked with Wi-Fi. You could combine and just put different type of units inside a box that's provided with the enclosure. But the moment you integrate, you can go much lower cost. The reason for that being that the guy, instead of like I say, a box within a box, you can have your PC board sitting in the enclosure. If you do an OEM solution, a supplier like us can get you a special one that you can fit your PC board in that will have all the LEDs sticking out. I tell you now, LEDs showing is quite an important point. You do want to see that your CPU is on, for example, and perhaps that it's connected. And then, of course, things like SIM cards, I think it will not be so important with eSIMs over time. But everything gets at much lower cost. Even the antennas inside can directly connect to the board. You don't need adapter cables and so forth. So I just saw in Wi-Fi that the moment Ubiquiti did the electronics with the antenna close together, they were much lower cost than you can do in terms of one guy supplying an enclosure and the other guys just putting electronics into it.
Okay, so maybe another question, maybe more for Anthony. You mentioned, Andre, costs, and there is still room to reduce the cost, because there are also comments like maybe the cost of 5G CPEs could be a barrier for adoption in some specific markets. So maybe, Anthony, what is your take on that? How do you see, the pricing evolution for 5G CPEs? And maybe also we have seen that there are some RedCap initiative for fixed wireless access. Is it a way to go forward? Any views on that? I think it would be the last question because we are already over 1 hour and a half. Anthony?
Okay. So I think this is a good question anyway for the price, right? But
we don't ask values. We don't ask values.
It's like, now I think the price, I think, is going to very low. But anyway, this will be benefit to the subscriber for sure. Now I think from the Euro perspective, I think the target price normally from the operator is around like €100 to €120. This is target price. This is the one thing. But anyway, so I think now I think based on our cooperated like a 3-man supplier. So I think, for example, like a Unisoc, I think it definitely can reach the target. But anyway, they still have some kind of a performance concern. And for the MediaTek, and also compare with Qualcomm, they have pro and cons. For example, like now massive deployment for the Qualcomm 62, I think is release 16, and T750 release 15. But anyway, for the performance, for the bandwidth is, for example, like maybe they can, the MediaTek can support like more bandwidth, which can increase the throughput, for the data, for the rate. So I think, I think the price is the many reasons, like for manufacture, to management of cost and R&D innovation, but anyway, also for the competition. So now I can say, the price trend will still going forward, to make more affordable, to the customer. Yeah, this is one thing. The second one is about like what you mentioned about the red cap. So red cap means like reduced capability, and by the way, red cap is something like low cost, and by the way, low power consumption, which means like your battery life will be longer, and also the size is a little bit smaller. Then you can make a lot of like a watch, like something with the red cap. I think this is the one thing. But anyway, compare with the 5G, the normal 5G, I think they have like a trade-off for the performance and for the latency, and by the way, but they are better, from the LTE perspective. But normally, the operator, strategy is try to use the red cap to replace, the LTE, Cat 4, or maybe later, Cat 1. This is the strategy. So I think this is just like when you experience like some kind of scenario which is difficult, have a traditional network, and also you don't have like the so much high speed requirement. So I think the red cap is a good solution. So I think this is something like something like an additional service. And by the way, for the operator, they can provide for example, like a normal 5G to the premium user and get more money, and then I think for the red cap to the different users, like a tiered service. This is quite important. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, thank you very much. I mean, I will have to stop here, and I would like to thank you both very much for your support and for this interesting session. And I would like to hand over to John for the closing remarks. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Julian, and thank you, the panel. So just to round off this session today, I want to conclude saying again, we see there is a very large need for fast and reliable broadband. We're talking about millions of households globally, in particular in emerging markets that want fast broadband. We see that with 5G fixed wireless, several measurements are showing that Net Promoter Score, consumers are seeing fixed wireless as good as fiber, and as a primary connectivity, as we heard today. So fixed wireless is really a clear and proven 5G monetization case, and we see more and more launches in the market. And I think we want to show really that we have a solid 3GPP ecosystem with a global scale and innovation to continue support the evolution of this use case. And really, this is an opportunity for regulators and policymakers to see fixed wireless as one additional tool to close the digital divide. So we have active and growing ecosystem forum supporting the scaling of this use case globally. We continue to work now with 55 members, and we continue to provide insights and information, and we look forward to continue to have interactions with you in the rest of the year. And we also welcome additional members that want to join. So with that, I pass to Richard to close the session.
Great. Thank you very much, John. And thank you again to all our speakers for joining us. The fact that we've overrun slightly speaks volumes, I think, to the interesting, engaging conversation that we've had throughout the panel discussions. After this event, you will receive a link to the on-demand recording, and including a link to the website for the Fixed Wireless Access Forum. On that site, you'll find links to all the resources you see linked here, the the directory, the latest market report, the figures of which Ian presented earlier, the latest edition of the ecosystem catalogue, and last year's survey report. The current survey report is just in its final stages of data being gathered, and the survey report for 2024 should be delivered in September. With that, please do keep an eye on the GSA website for future reports and events. Our next webinar will be in July and look at the sunsetting of 2G and 3G networks and what that means for technologies such as 5G broadcast. So please keep an eye on the communications from GSA, both on the website, via our newsletter, and our social channels for more information on that. And with that, I'll just say thank you for joining, and thank you again to our panel for a great conversation. Many thanks.